Right now, I'm inside of the welding shop, and I wanted to talk to you just for a moment this morning about mental illnesses being camouflaged by working. I want to focus this on the African American community, the Black Native community that actually go through mental illnesses and never fully address the issue. Like never say or go and get some real help. It's all about, a lot of times growing up, we'll say so and so is crazy, or we'll say, oh, so and so is this, but they never really got no real help. Some of the people that I can remember growing up that we said was this or that, and come to find out later growing up that they really, really had some mental issues and needed some help, and people just laughed it off or said they was crazy or said, oh, you know how they is, this and this, and when literally we need help, you know what I'm saying, for those issues to actually gain some peace, some freedom. And I was thinking about this article I read yesterday. And I read an article yesterday about this lady named her first name was Karen. No lie, that's funny. But her first name was Karen, and her last name I can't pronounce it right, so I don't want to miss say her name. But she's a writer author, and she wrote a book about 30 years, I think 30 years after prison, psychological issues that we face. And after reading her this blog that she posted about mental illnesses and being incarcerated, like it really, really put a light, like it hit a light up on me. It made me think about some things that we don't necessarily deal with, especially coming from, like I say, coming from rural areas and rough communities, and especially being incarcerated. It's a lot of things that you don't really think about, but there's a pattern there. There's a issue there that tends to like reset you, so to speak. And after reading that blog, it really opened up my eyes because I had literally me and my wife was just talking about um, opening up and going to group counseling, and me like you know being more involved in a prison outreach. You know what I mean? Like with people who actually have survived it, and just kind of not like a AA thing, but kind of sort of, you know what I mean? Whereas people who have survived time and they, sit around and they talk about, some of their personal struggles, and work on some issues that was pertaining to being incarcerated for a length of time. You know what I mean? And the more I think about it, I did from 16 years old to 26 years old. So that's a decade, 10 years. And then went back a year. So, I would say I did 11, you know what I mean? That time, I can't explain it, man, but that time does something to you. And sometimes when you're going through certain things in life, you don't really, truly, you don't notice it, because I didn't notice, certain things that I do. And I didn't notice it. And I was thinking about, I literally after reading this lady blog, and I was just really thinking about some patterns. And, after, like I say, after talking to my wife about some things yesterday, actually, and just looking at my, my past, now that I know more about my father's side, where the seed came from, you know, learning more about my father's side through my aunt has really opened my eyes about that side of the family, because I really didn't know anything about that side of the family. And come to find out that my mom, my dad's mom, had mental issues. So I have mental issues, like mental illnesses, on my dad's side of the family. You know what I mean? That was like real bad. You know what I mean? Some things that happened. You know what I mean? So knowing that now, and thinking about the way I was raised with my dad, and about how that relationship was, I can understand now that he had mental issues. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they could easily be seen, and I couldn't see it as a child, you know what I mean, to understand his situation. And then later I grow up, this is where the seed come from. My issues ain't like his issues, but I got issues. You see what I'm saying? And me going getting incarcerated for 10 years, that created um, a whole nother source of problems, or open a whole nother door of roots that I got to cut off. You know what I mean? Because I experienced something that was truly psychological, and physical, but it does something to you, and I didn't really realize it. You know what I mean? But you're not the, I don't think, you know, just like this lady was saying, how can you be the same after doing so much time like that, or getting put in a situation where if you was wrong or right, and seeing the humane acts that's involved in it. You know what I mean? Especially if you was in a southern prison, like from, I know from Mississippi to Louisiana, Arkansas, and I don't know about Texas or not, but I know a lot of those southern states still go in the field. I know Arkansas do. They got a hoe squad. You be in the field with a hoe, walking around, cutting grass with a hoe, and a dude on a horse. You know what I mean? So it's like watching Django for real. You know what I'm saying? Like literally down there. And I just think about that. But I can be honest with myself to say that working, grinding, hustling, doing your business, going through life, a lot of times we can hide certain issues, certain mental illnesses behind the work ethics, behind working, behind not really focusing on it, or not paying attention to it, or not addressing the issue. And then over time and time, the issue can get worse and worse, you know what I mean, without fully addressing it. So I feel like the man who have actually dealing with something, and everybody know who they are, who actually dealing with some issues, man, get some help. Talk to somebody, write someone, or write it down, or whatever you can do to get things going. But I think that it's most definitely good that you would reach out to someone, because a lot of the things that we go through, we need to get them off our chest. We need to talk them out. And so that's why I think that is valuable now. And that's literally why I'm doing this video, because I know a lot of our black men have mental illnesses. You know what I mean? A lot of us go through things that we don't really address. You know what I mean? Or we have problems that we don't really know we have, but we know there's something going on. Like you don't think right. You know what I mean? Or something just don't click right, or you get angry fast about something, or it's something there. You know what I'm saying? And as I get older, I can only be realistic and say that, hey man, we have things that we face that we need to work on, as men. So after experiencing that incarceration situation, and then knowing how I grew up with my father, and the mental illnesses for my grandmother and passed down to my father, and seeing the way those things was, you know, my aunt made a statement one day and I laughed it off, but now I really get it though. She was like, knowing when she found out, that my dad, when she found out my dad, because she didn't know my dad had a son. So when she found out my dad had a son, I had some kids, the first thing she wanted to do was meet him. Like, man, I need to talk to him. I want to see where they at, because she knew his past, the full everything. So after talking to me, she was like, compared to what everything was, she was like, "You a miracle." You know what I mean? You don't get it. You know what I mean? From where you at, from what the path you had to go through, you don't get the struggles and the issues that you faced, and that you overcame up to this point. And I'm thinking like, wow, I really was, I laughed it off, but I understand it more now, that, even with dealing with issues, like I say, from dealing with that time and going to new areas, and being secluded, And it's just certain things that you tend to notice, and you're like, dang, I need to work on that, or I got an issue that I have fully didn't understand that I had. You know how sometimes you can be naive about some stuff. You know what I mean? And I think being humble enough to address your issues too, to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. I feel like if it's something that you need to address, sometimes that person in the mirror don't look as pleasant, as you want it to look, but you still have to address that person, you know. And to be honest with you, I think that, it's wise that, especially us who have did time, to seek out and, to have that support group, or to have that someone you can talk to, because even your spouse, and we all know this, your friend, your family, even some of them, you can't fully relax and just really reveal everything that's on your mind. You tend to like, yeah, but I don't want them to know, so you need to find someone you can actually reveal that to, and just be real, and don't worry about no judgment, because even though you just expressing yourself, your family or your spouse or certain friends might take it a different way. You know what I mean? And you don't mean that way at all. You just saying this is how you feel at the moment, and that person will just let you vent and let you see if that's a messed up situation and how you feeling, or is it, or you have grounds just to feel that way, and might need to address it or change that situation. You know what I mean? But I feel like if we don't ever talk about it, or we don't reach out, man, we'll never get no help. And you know, I thought about something this morning. I said to myself, and I made a little post, and I was just thinking, like, man, a grown man is just a boy in a new body. Think about that. A grown man is just a boy in a new body, because if you haven't dealt with those issues from your childhood, from your past, then you stuck there. And even though you're grown, you still living out some childish issues. You still living out some things from your past as a child, as a boy, that you haven't fully dealt with. You know what I mean? And I think, we all face different things, you know what I mean? From especially from not having fathers in our lives, or not having mothers, or having bad parents, or whatever the situation is, because everybody got a different situation, you know what I mean? So, you know, for those who grew up with a good household and a good mother, good father, man, that was very fortunate. You know what I mean? I got a cousin of mine actually who, I like to tell him all the time that he had a good father, that he got a good father. His father's still alive, actually. And I tell him all the time, man, hey, man, you need to do something for your dad. Throw him a party or something. Do something for him. Do something for him, out the irregular, because he's always been there for him. Not just to be there physically, but he always gave him some good, some good wisdom. Gave him some of his experiences, some good quotes. And I remember he was like, yeah, man, I remember my dad said this. And I'm like, bro, that's some wise stuff. And he was like, yeah, this and this. And he asked me, what kind of wise thing can you get from your dad, so to speak, And I can't sit here and be honest with you and tell you anything. I didn't have that type of father. I can't tell you my dad that gave me some good wisdom, or sat me down and talked to me about, about life. Nah, I mean, I learned from my dad by watching his mistakes. You know what I mean? By watching things and say, you know what, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person. But as far as like getting some, I respected them, I loved them, but I never got that. So I wanted to make sure that I can be able to give that to mine. And then growing up, realizing that if you hate someone, you can't become that person. You know what I mean? And I remember, being in prison dealing with that, because I was so consumed with why things had to be the way they was in my life. Like, why, I didn't have no guide, that hate would have consumed me completely. So I had to let that go. And even though I felt I let it go too extreme, you know what I mean? Now today, I can still I can say that I'm still dealing with some of my issues. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have no hatred, but I can't say that I don't have no type of ill will. So I still have issues that I have to deal with with my father, that I want to see lined out, or just, with my mother's estate, And it's just some, as we grow up, we realize that it's okay to find someone to talk to. It's okay to be like, hey, man, you know, this is a situation I'm in. This is how I'm thinking. This is how I'm feeling. Not to say it's good or bad, but to just be realistic with yourself and say, this is what it is. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying this is how I feel. Like, you know, and sometimes, like I say, it ain't gonna feel good all the time to really see you for who you are. And you're like, damn, I need to work on that. You know what I mean? It's like certain things that you don't like in the others, and you actually see it, and you like, man, I don't like that. I need to fix that. If that's a part of me, I don't like that. You know what I mean? And that's okay, man, to be realistic with yourself, because I think that it's things about our lives. As we grow, I remember a man say to live life like you're dying tomorrow, but learn from life like you're going to live forever, meaning that we're always going to have something with us and within us as men, as kings, as queens, that we need to change. That we need to work on within ourselves, and that we need to really learn how to be happy, man. And to be honest with you, I think that's something that I struggle with personally. You know what I mean? Is learning to be happy. You know what I mean? Like, not like when things happen, oh yeah, this is a good time. But I'm talking about like that joy. You know how they say joy is like something, no matter what you go through, you still have it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have no, you way up here or you way down here, but joy kind of keeps you, you rocking, you're always happy. You have your pump moments, but even if you do this spike down, you pop right back up, because life's going to give you what it's going to give you. Sometimes, we're going to have our moments where we just like, we just knock the wind out of us, and then we're gonna have our moments where we can jump up and we can fight against the wind and against the water. You know what I mean? But I really feel that as man, we need to, as black man, especially black man who have been incarcerated too. So if you're black and you've been incarcerated for a length of time, like, me personally, this is just my personal opinion. Some people say, man, I only did 6 months or a year. This was hard, but I can only say it from my personal opinion of what I've seen. Anyone who has sat there over a period of time, something might can happen to that one person in 1 year that it didn't happen to that one person that did 10 years or 15 years. You know what I mean? So I can't say how much time it takes to really affect someone psychologically, but I can say that, I have witnessed people on all scales coming from that aspect who had a fatal or a misfortune at the beginning of their time. You know what I'm saying? So to survive it, man, I'm a little bolder, aggressive when it comes to survival, you know what I mean? Because of that situation. And we're dealing with certain things, and once you get out, you want to be aggressive with your work ethics or whatnot, but you want to make sure that, I think that it's more better to be assertive. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to, sometimes just, I don't know. I think that sometimes that your real strong grind or way you feel about certain things can and will intimidate others. I mean, especially someone that's not really fully strong. But I think you have to just be, you don't want to discourage no one, is all I'm saying. Because you want to be able to be conscious enough to know that you can be you without stepping on someone. Now, you being you and someone just feeling how they feel, that's just what it is. You know what I mean? But you just want to be conscious that, that other people got their space, and you don't want to make or make someone feel belittled, you know. So these are just things that I'm, learning as I go. But literally, like reading that article, like opened my eyes, and I read it again this morning. I'm gonna make sure that I post it inside the comments, so that way y'all can read the article. But it was nice. The lady really broke down some things, and like I say, it really opened up my mind to some things, and that I really wasn't paying attention to. I can be honest. Some things that you do out of routine, you do out of, I don't know, natural things. You know what I mean? You do by nature, by naturally, and sometimes a person on the outside can most definitely see it better than you can, because you in the middle of the game. So I think that it's good that we really find people that we can talk to about whatever it is that we're facing psychologically. You know what I mean? Because it can damage you in so many ways, like health, wealth, relationships, just your life, peace. Things can switch and have you thinking a different way. You know what I mean? And we just have to be realistic with ourselves. You know what I mean? Like really, just be realistic and just say, "Hey, man, I have issues with this. I need to work in this area. I'm not as strong right here." You know what I mean? And just work on it, and knowing that, like anything, some people can be born with a gift. Others have to develop one, have to develop that skill. You know what I mean? So it's okay that we might have lack some issues in this one area, but we can always get better. And even though, like I say, the work can camouflage the mental illnesses, the hustle can camouflage it. You'll see certain things, the glamour, the clothing, the the fake facade, so to speak, that you see when people come. It can hide a lot of mental issues, but truth be told, a lot of people go through a lot of things that they don't really, talk about. You know what I mean? Or they don't really even get help for it. Some people do though. It's a lot of people that, hey, have no problem say, hey, yeah, I get help for this. I have to talk these out. I didn't know I had an issue with this, but come to find out, I got a problem with it. You know what I mean? So I think that as we go, we really wake up and see that we need to work on some of our mental illnesses. But we have to be realistic with ourselves. We can't say, it's a good saying to say, I like that, this quote that says, be angry and sin not. Meaning, it's okay to express yourself. It's okay to say, I feel like this or that, but you ain't got to go kill nobody, or you ain't got to harm nobody. You know what I'm saying? To me, but it's okay to say, man, this person hurt me. I really want to do this. Is what they did to me, and get this off your chest. Or I felt this way, or I got oppressed this way, or why is the system, like it is. Sometimes you just want to express it just to get it off your chest, instead of just having it bottled down. And as man, that's what we tend to do sometimes. We tend to just hold things. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but I do. And I've been learning more and more to just express things as I go, or not to allow things to build up. You know what I mean? Like, so if I'm addressed with a situation, I like to handle that situation right then. Like, I don't like to sleep on it. I just want to handle that situation right then, because then all I'm doing is is adding more mental stress to me. Sleep, you know what I mean? I just want to deal with it. So if I got a confrontation, whatever, if it comes to me right then, wherever it's at, that's where I want to deal with it at. And maybe that's messed up how I think, but that's what I do. Like I used to always say, it's on. I have the saying that growing up, we used to say it's on call. And if I told you that, which I have told several people that, and I meant just that, you know what I mean? And some people that know me know that, yeah, he meant just that. Like if we got into it, it was a situation, and I said, man, it's on call. If I see you, I don't care where we at. We got to address the situation. You know what I mean? And if I see them wherever we was at, gas station, leaving church, whatever, you know what I mean? It was on call. It was on site. And I'm not saying that was right, but that was a mentality that I had, especially growing up. You know what I mean? That if I said it, you know what I mean, you can write it in stone. You know what I'm saying? I was just that type of, I was that type of individual where, I make my mind up about something and it's done, Not saying that it's good or bad because a lot of times that put me in some messed up situations, but I think we learn as we go, you know what I mean? And then even as a man, now when I say things, I know that I like to keep my word when I'm dealing with, my kids, or if I say, hey, I can do it, I'm gonna do it. Or if I can, I like to say, hey, I can't. Give me a minute right now. This is not the best situation. Give me a little time. But I remember my daughter saying one thing one time, and it really made me feel good as a man because she said to one of her friends, I guess, that I was living in Phoenix at the time, and I told her I was coming to pick her up for the summer to be in Arizona, and she was excited about seeing me and me picking her up. And she enjoyed the travel to see the different states and be in a new area. You know what I mean? So when she told her friend that, I guess one of her friends at school that was like, "You sure he gonna come down there and get you? That's the wrong way. Is he gonna drive down just to pick you up?" You know, like, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? And I remember my daughter saying, if he said he was gonna do it, he gonna do it. And he told me he gonna do it, so he gonna be here. And that made me feel good, family. Like I can't tell you, like, because I wanted her to feel that way. And I was there, picked her up. You know what I mean? And it made me feel good because she told me the story, after, And it just made me feel good to know that they know that I'm gonna do my best to be a man of my word. Things happen, life happens. So I'm not the one to just lie to him and say, "Oh, I'm gonna do something," and I never do it. "Oh, I'm gonna be there," and I never be there because I've been there. Waiting, that kid waiting on your dad to pick you up, and you never show up. You know what I mean? So I've been there. You know what I mean? So I never wanted to be that kid, that father. And like I say, I didn't really get a good example on how to be a father. I just seen examples. So from going through different courses and reading different books, I learned some things about being a father, but you still got to have hands-on experience. And I can't say I was the best one. You know what I mean? I don't, I don't see like, I know I wasn't abusive to my kids, and I wasn't, I know I disciplined them when they need to be disciplined, but I did my best to give them what they need, try to keep the self-esteem up, keep them in good clothing, take them out, making sure they had a little something in their pockets and, they go to school, I want to make sure that they felt good or they had, they had their own image. And right now I got my 14-year-old and my 9-year-old, who I'm still, working on as far as our relationships to get better and better. But the truth be told with you, I was thinking about something the other day. I have 3 kids. I have 3 kids by 3 different women. I'm gonna say that again. I got 3 kids by 3 different women. So that right there was not intentional by no means. But my first one, I was young. I didn't even, I didn't think she was pregnant for real. Actually, I thought she was lying. I'm gonna be honest with you. And when she finally sent me the picture of the ultrasound, that's when I believed that she was pregnant. Like I thought she wasn't pregnant. You know what I mean? And she was a few years older than me, my oldest daughter, mom. And I was staying in Denver at the time, and I thought, nah, she ain't pregnant. But my oldest daughter was actually born in Denver. She's from there, so she moved to Arkansas later. You know what I mean? But I didn't believe it. And then, like I said, we was young. I went to prison then. My daughter was born while I was there. I get out, get married, have my next child, which is my daughter that's 14 now. She turned 15 this year. And I was actually there, I seen the full process, the pregnancy, the birth in the hospital with them. You know what I mean? That was like, I felt like that was something I can't even explain, just going through that and witnessing her come out, it gave us a different bond. So out of all of my kids, that's the only one I actually seen come out, you know, my middle daughter. My son, at that time when he was born, I didn't know his mom was pregnant neither. So I found out later because we was like as separated, we was like together, like, we wasn't married or nothing at the time. We were just together and then separated. And later I found out she hit me up and let me know she was pregnant, and then so our bond, I wasn't there when he was born, you know. So, but I was still there when he was small. So he been knowing me like out since he was a baby. You know what I mean? But I wasn't like the first eyes he seen, if that makes sense. So, but I was there, so he really know. Even to this day, he know that I be there. You know what I mean? But I still want our relationship to be stronger. But as a father, I can be honest with you now and just say that all of this has been a learning experience, and it's still a learning experience. Like I'm still learning how to be a father. Like I'm still learning from mistakes. I'm still making mistakes. I'm still, learning from errors and getting better and shifting my mind around the concept, because, wanting my kids to enjoy the childhood, the graduations, because I didn't experience that. You know what I mean? So like I say, we have mental illnesses that we face growing up, and a lot of times we don't deal with them. And then we go through other dramas and traumas in life, and we look at it, and everything just builds up, and somehow we think we all right. I don't know, but we're not. You know what I mean? We have to work those things out, man, to live longer, to be healthier, happier, to have better relationships with family and friends. And that's one thing that this lady article talked about, how the prison really affects you psychologically with your family, with separation issues, with family, with loved ones, with loneliness, depression. It named several things, man, that I actually can see, that I seen, witness within myself and see in myself. You know what I mean? And it just, it's humbling, man, that we have to be realistic. Like we can't act like we're perfect. Just like our brother, DMX right now going through a terrible situation. Prayers go out to his family, his friends, and him. May God will be done in that situation. But his situation resolves from a childhood issue. Getting introduced to crack, so to speak, cocaine, a primo, or whatever you want to call it, at 14 years old, after he had just went to a institution from 7 to 14. So he went to the institution as a baby from 7 to 14. Do you get that? From 7 to 14. Then he get out. The person that he really respects turned him out on drugs. Didn't tell him what he was doing. He think he was just smoking some weed. He put something in him, and he's like, man, I felt the way I ain't never felt in my life. But he wasn't even on the drugs. Man, I didn't really do that. I just like the hip hop thing. He was just, just hanging out. And still he deal with that. And now he's still dealing with that. That's a live example right now for us family that we need to get help mentally. You know, literally get help. A lot of times you think that you help someone because of finances. And one thing I learned, I made a statement one day and I said, the worst thing you can do to a black youth is to give them money without giving them education of the money, without giving them financial literacy. Because doing that is going to destroy them. It's going to destroy them because someone is going to be wanting to try to take it from them. It's going to destroy them probably with what they're going to do with it, because now they got access to overindulge in things that they never could indulge in. You know what I mean? It just, without having that knowledge, that's why you get it where it says, truly knowledge is power. And my people perish for the lack of knowledge, for the lack of knowing that they got an issue that they need to work on, knowing that they can't do it by themselves, knowing that it's okay to talk to somebody, knowing it's okay to be like, hey, I'm not perfect. It is what it is. Knowing it's okay to talk to your brother and say, hey man, this is how I feel. It might not be right, but this is how I feel. You know, we all have different issues in our relationships with our women, and some man, you know what I have realized, some man we have issues in our relationship, and you don't, you know, in your mind at that moment or whatever, you feel like you're right, like yeah man, this was right, and then you might share it with one of your brothers and just be realistic. He said, man, yeah, you was messed up. It's like, man, really? Yeah, man, you need to apologize, man. You know you weren't right for that. And then it make you look at it different. Like, dang, I need to work on that. You know, because so I think it's good that not to have a yes man around you. You know, have people that just gonna tell you when you wrong, and praise you when you right, and you know rebuke you or correct you. You know what I mean, when you wrong, and help you get better. You know what I mean. So I think having that support group or that constructive criticism, and then even in this blog, the lady even said it's the way you approach them too. She said, and it's so funny because all I could do was think about it. She was like, a person who has done time like that, who has certain mental illnesses from that, you just can't come to them in a certain tone, in a certain way, and think you're going to get to them. You just close that door completely, or you're going to arouse something that you didn't want to see, or they going to completely shut down. And I have been in all situations, so I know, like, man, I never really thought about that. But once you go through certain things, it's just like you just don't accept certain stuff, or you don't know how to fully respond to it. You know what I mean? And once you get to certain age in your life, you know, it is what it is. I want to get better. Don't get me wrong, but you can't come to me like no kid trying to say, hey, you need to do this or this and this. You know, you can't, that is not going to be the way that you get something across to someone who has spent a decade incarcerated, someone who had to almost kill somebody to protect his manhood. You know what I mean? Because, you know, while I was incarcerated, I caught attempted murder charge because I refused to be somebody's woman. Like, it ain't gonna happen. You know what I mean? So I'm very protected when it comes to my manhood. You know, I'm not a homophobic at all because I witnessed all of this. I witnessed people turn people out, rape people. You know what I mean? I witnessed people, officers talk to people different ways, handcuff them and beat them just because they had the power to do it. You see what I'm saying? You know, I have been put in situations that's been very degrading, you know, not sexually, but beat by officers, you know what I mean? And zip ties, you know what I'm saying? Like, for no apparent reason, just because they had a bad day, you know? And so until you experience certain things, man, it makes you respond to authority and respond to certain things differently, you know, especially to certain tones, because it instantly make you reflect or think back on that time for some reason, like that moment you was in. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? You know, it makes you reflect there, and after then, there's no more understanding. You can't even think. Like, I can't even lie. I many times once I go to that certain level where I think, or a person take me there about something that they did or said, and I respond, being understanding is zero out the picture at that time. I'm like, I'm in beast mode. You know what I mean? And so I realize that now, and I know where it comes from. For me being in a situation where I had to be defensive, I had to not have empathy, you know, or sympathy. Like, I had to just be, you know, concerned about me surviving. You know what I mean? And even though you get in the situation and you help other people survive, you tend to be, well, me personally, tend to be a little harder on them because you like, oh man, you can do this, you know, but they haven't been through the intense struggle and opposition like you. And that's what I get with dealing with, you know, my wife and with my kids, because if they whine about something like, oh man, this is hard, I'm like, hey, come on, we can do this, you know. I don't, because I was faced with a harder opposition, and I look at what they going through like, man, that's nothing, you know, but to them, it's something. Like, this is a big situation. But to me, I'm looking at it like, man, I just had, you know, it's kind of like David saying, man, I just had to fight lion, tigers, and bears. You talking about this paper cut, but that's still their issue, and that's a big thing to them. So who are you or me or I, you know what I mean, to say that that's a minute, that's not nothing. Look what, and I think that we do that too because of the time. Like it makes us, I don't know, man. It's like it makes us. I have to. I don't know if it kind of makes you non-sensitive to certain things, or you're more callous to certain things, or something. I don't know. It's like you're sensitive about certain things for sure, but certain things you're like it really doesn't. It like rubs off of you, runs off of you, so to speak. But I really just think that we deal with issues like that. And my goal, honestly, is that's why I enjoy going to the youth groups and helping out and speaking, because I know that it's young men who literally are going through mental illnesses, going through where they need some guidance, need someone to just listen to them. And then also, also I feel like I need to start, because I haven't been, but need to start even form a after prison type of outreach. I don't really know, what to call it or what type of program they are. Like after those who had did time and they maintain trying to get out and do jobs and they working, they might just need to vent or have a community where they can come and talk like an AA. You know what I mean? But only for those who had been to prison. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that sometimes when you're looking for certain things, that you should form it. When you're looking for certain things, like me, I'm not really comfortable with, I would rather, if I'm gonna talk to a counselor, to be personal with you, I'd rather talk to a counselor of my ethnic group, you know what I mean, who has actually been through some struggles or familiar with it. I don't want to talk to someone who's just sitting there like, yeah, let me get this money. So and so, $100 an hour, or $250 an hour, to sit here and talk to you and say, this is what you need to write me out a prescription or something. I don't want that. You know what I mean? So, sometimes we tend to look at things biased, but we can't neglect the point that we still need help. So sometimes, it's good to build what you need or seek it out. So I'm going to seek out some life after prison type outreaches that I can go to and be involved in. Gain some more information on, staying free, being free, living free, dealing with just life and stress and just whatever. Just talk about whatever, you know what I mean? Because life is a lot different for someone who has done time, and especially a lot. After you have done decade, 2 decades, three, 15, 18, them type of numbers, man, there's no way you we are right completely up here. And it's just no way. Like we might be looking good physically, you dress right, skin shining, glowing, but not to say you ain't got no issues. You know what I mean? So just wanted to say, man, if you need help, seek help. You know, there's many different programs out here that assist people who just want outreach groups, not looking for no handouts. Just want to sit down and just talk to a brother. Just can't probably can't afford a psychiatrist, but that group once every 2 weeks, or once a month, really they look forward to that to come to let it out and to ask some questions and figure life out, man. Build a relationship maybe with another brother to have a true friendship. Because I'm gonna be real with you. This is just from my personal opinion so far. My best, it's like some relationships I can't have regular with like with a guy who's never been to prison, never did any time. It's kind of hard for us to have like a tight We might have a business relationship and get money or do something or work here or do something, have that type of relationship. But like as far as like a real close relationship where I can really talk to them or relate to them and we can really talk and just be real. I can't, I have seen that since I've been out that I can't have relationships with people who haven't survived or who I haven't known survived because it seems like we are on a different mindset. Like if you survive that, then I can salute your character more because you out here, you never experienced that and you boast that you're this type of person. But I'm knowing that if you get in this situation, will you still be that same type of person? Will you still be that guy that you say you are if you was faced with your back up against the wall? And I have seen a lot of people that said they were certain people and that wasn't who they was when they back got against that wall. You know what I mean? Like I went down to prison doing the, you know, gang bang in the Little Rock era, and I seen a lot of guys that would shoot them up, bang bang, that was sleeping in the bed with somebody else, that was getting turned out in the shower, that was choosing up, that was, like it's what it was, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it doesn't mean, a lot of times just because somebody think they tough because they got a gun, all them dudes had guns, but they didn't have them in there. All they had was these being a man. So if you was, you know, too afraid to stand up for yourself, it wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a good sight for a lot of people. And and I just want to say it like that because it wasn't about winning every fight. It was about surviving every night. You know what I mean? So if you stand up for yourself, it's win, lose, or draw. Look, I got a friend. I ain't gonna call him a friend, but it's someone I grew up with. He's from Dudes actually. I watched this dude fight. Say he fought 10 times. He lost every one of them, but he never got turned out. He fought every time and everything. Anybody could say something about him. They say, "Oh, so and so. Oh man, that dude gonna fight, man. Leave that crazy dude alone, man. You gonna have to whoop him. You go whoop him. Most everybody see him whoop him because he can't fight, but he gonna fight though. You ain't finna punk him if you say so and so. If he say this, he'll slap off on you, hit you. You gonna have to whoop him because he ain't. You just gonna have to whoop him. You know what I mean? And it was so funny because I watched my guy like I can't tell you a fight he won, but he ain't no punk. You know what I mean? I done watched him slap some dudes, get whooped, but he did it anyway. He like, you ain't finna talk to me like that. You see what I'm saying? So you gonna have to whoop him. So he encouraged me so much because he was one that survived in there, and regardless, he didn't go. You know, and I know dudes in there that fought and they got tired and they fought. They was being man, and then something happened in their life and they just said they was tired. Stop fighting. End up turning to a woman. End up getting a new name. Went from a G to went from being called a G to being called a girl, literally. So, after seeing things like that, I can't fully say that I'm completely right. You know what I mean? Like mentally. But that's why I know that we have to be realistic with ourselves, and that's why I'm dropping this video. And I can only talk about some of my issues personally because I think that it's okay for us to like be. We all face different things, man. It is what it is, but we have to be realistic with ourselves and say, hey, man, we need help or we need to work on this issue. We don't want to be um, another independent artist or another artist like DMX or another person who's caught up in a situation because we didn't just seek out a little help and we was trying to help ourselves by clouding our minds or trying to chase that one feeling or just trying not to think about, the mistakes you made or wasn't the best father you wanted to be, and now you like, man, and now you just like forget it, and whatever the situation it is, what I mean. Everybody face different woes, you know what I mean. I just want to say I can be realistic to say that I got some mental illnesses that I got to work on. I got to address, and a lot of them comes from me doing that decade in prison, and then also come from me just dealing with issues from my childhood, dealing with issues from my dad and his parents, and knowing that history does repeat itself, and if you don't break the chain, it's going to continue. The cycle is going to continue. So there's generational curses that we have to break within ourselves. Growing up in certain situations. Then there are mental things. And then, it's like I think that there's always something to work on, but we can't be in denial and say that it's not nothing to work on, you know. So I can be the first one to tell you that I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to work on myself, you know. And when you got people in your life that can see that and still be with you, man, that's love. You know what I mean? I can't count a whole lot of people on my hand that I can truly say that I know for a shadow of a bat, that I know personally. Maybe they got my back and I don't know nothing about it. But those that I know, I can only count them, man, on so many fingers, man. I still got some left off of ten of them. You know what I mean? Off of five of them. So it's like certain things you go through and people you lose. Like a lot of the people that was there for me when I was going through that hard time, they had passed away now. I only got a couple of them that's still alive, and a couple of them that still alive, we don't talk like we should. I feel like we should talk more, but life happens. People have their grandkids and kids now, and life just go on. But sometimes when you're in a situation, sometimes you have to go out of your way to go check on them. Sometimes some people can just be in some situations where they feel like, man, they just trapped, but you're not. And you can make a move to say, hey, let me come see you today. Let me talk to you. How you doing? You know, not just texting. We get so caught up in the technology now, man. We so caught up in it is what it is. We all watch things, images, social media, that we really be antisocial when it comes to our certain loved ones and family members. It's something that we just have to work on, individually. So I just wanted to come to y'all and just talk to you. Like I said, it really just didn't kind of let time went by longer than what I expected. I really just didn't want to sit here this long and just, um, vent with you and talk to you about it. But I think that, as men, we have issues that we just have to address, man. We just have to be realistic with ourselves. And I drop archives like this and videos like this just to be realistic because I know I'm not the only one who's dealing with things. And if I can encourage someone to get some help while I'm getting some help or seeking some help, you know what I mean? Then, hey, we can all still meet up in the middle and still do what we do, because a lot of people I have watched and witnessed and seen documentaries on that was real, real wealthy. They had a lot of mental issues. They might have the bad, but they still had this going on. So why not, I feel like we can get both. We can get the bag and still be happy mentally, spiritually, financially, all the above. But we have to be realistic and just face the issues, man. So I come to y'all because, this is my personal blog and this is a way for me to vent about certain issues and to just address how I feel and just be realistic with those who, that's one thing about life. You never know what someone needs. You never know what might help someone. You just give it. You can spend 2 weeks working on something and then something can be actually spontaneous and just on your heart and it does more than that dedication that you did on that project. Not saying that that project won't affect no one, but just saying sometimes the organic of just being you, being realistic, being honest about whatever it is you're going through can also help someone too. Just let them know that ain't nobody freed from mental illnesses, free from flaws, free from things they need to work on as an individual. And like I said earlier, a man is just a boy in a grown man's body. You know, so as a as we grow up, if we don't face those issues and fix those issues, we just a child with some muscles and a beard. You know what I mean? Just to be realistic, it's just we got to work on those issues, man. And some things slap you in the face like pow pow. You like, whew. But say, what can you say? You know, work on them. Don't give up. You know what I mean? It can be discouraging at the time. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I mean? But I feel like each one teach some. You know what I mean? So work on you. The goal is to be more happier with life. We don't know how long we got. Literally, we don't. So let's try to enjoy whatever it is that we have left with our time, with our family, with our loved ones, with our kids. Let's try to enjoy all that because we don't know how long we got. We don't know how long, this our hearts are gonna be ticking. So we can work on some issues, and it's gonna take some time, man. It's gonna take you reaching out. It's gonna take you, use some gas money, traveling or staying up later, getting out your comfort zone or whatever it is to get some help. But do what you need to do. I'm gonna do what I need to do. You do what you need to do, and hopefully we'll see one another there, and we'll laugh and talk about what we went through and how we had to survive it. Hold on, y'all be blessed.